All right, good Monday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope everyone's doing well today. We're going to break down the details on what you can expect this week here in the High Plains. Unfortunately, no moisture in the foreseeable future. We'll talk about why that's the case and maybe if we can get some changes coming before we get thrown full blown into wildfire season as we get into February and March. So, that's what we'll be talking about for today. We'll go ahead and turn you guys around here on Facebook so that you can see the graphics as well. Right now, just a lot of sunshine here across the High Plains. Mild temperatures as well. You can see we're at 63 degrees here in Amarillo, 60 degrees in Tucumcari, 65 in Childress, and 68 in Canadian. Winds are calm. Again, that was something we talked about last night and this morning. Make sure that you take advantage of the mild and quiet day we've got today. Probably another one tomorrow where we'll see those temperatures nice and warm in the 60s and winds generally light, probably under 15 miles an hour across the entire area. And most of us will probably see winds less than 10 miles per hour across the area. Biggest update, I guess, within the near term, Potter County Fire Rescue did confirm with us here at ABC today that they are going to create a 90-day burn ban for the county, so the northern half of Amarillo. Randall County not under a burn ban right now. I would not be shocked if they also add one soon as well. But the burn ban in Potter County is going to run until April 12th. So definitely need some good moisture for sure, Alrita, as we have again been lacking in that department most of the winter. Typical La Nina pattern. We'll get into that here in a minute. Here's your highs for tomorrow: 67 in Amarillo, 61 in Clayton. You can see again up in Union County that snowpack still probably impacting some temperatures up there around Des Moines and Grenville. Most of them probably staying in the 50s for highs, but the rest of us will be very mild tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures running about 15 to 20 degrees above normal. So here's your computer model for the next 2 days, expecting just really quiet weather over the course of Tuesday. We'll start off in the 20s and 30s and then work our way up into the 60s in the afternoon with more of a west northwest wind. It'll be pretty light, around 5 to 10 miles an hour. So again, things like spraying probably could get done tomorrow. If you're not looking for, or if you're looking for a day where there's minimal drift, and then on Wednesday, that will not be the case. You probably won't want to spray that day. We'll end up seeing those northerly winds a little breezy at 15 to 25. Probably we'll even see some wind gusts as high as 40 to 45 miles an hour in the afternoon, particularly over here in the eastern panhandle towards Shamrock and Canadian. It's not going to be a critical fire threat day. Our relative humidity values are going to be elevated just due to the lower temperatures and a little bit of some low level moisture being brought in. You can see those partly cloudy skies indicated on the map as well. But the winds will probably create a wind-driven fire threat. It's not going to be a huge concern, but it is going to be something that's worth mentioning. Again, we've been very dry as of late. Most of us did not see the snow last week, and so conditions out there very prime for fuel for wildfire potential. I guess we forgot to set a keyframe in here. Must have been a bug in the model. There's the keyframe. It came in right that time. So here's our next couple of weather makers. There's that cold front that's going to come through on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. This is going to keep us near normal for those temperatures. Notice again the really cold and frigid air up in the Great Lakes region towards Hudson Bay and the Canadian provinces, where there's going to be a lot of single digit to even negative temperatures up there. We will just be in the 50s on Wednesday afternoon with that strong northerly wind. We do have another cold front that we'll have to continue to monitor. That one actually will probably be a little bit stronger. You can see that batch of cold air coming in from the Canadian provinces actually is displaced a bit further to the west. And so that one will probably bring in a bigger drop in temperatures compared to that secondary front, or to the first front, I mean. The second front is going to be the stronger of the two in regards of how far it's going to drop those highs in the afternoon. Highs on Friday, probably in the upper 40s for most of us. Unfortunately, with the northwest flow pattern that's going to be associated with, not expecting it to be a long-lived cool down. In fact, that stuff probably washes out of here very quickly. You can see the Climate Prediction Center actually giving us a 50% chance to be warmer than normal between January 17th and January 21st. And again, we may get a day or two mixed in there where it is cool, but overall, it's probably a lot of warm weather for us with the pattern that we're in. Lots of cold weather out along the East Coast, Probably even maybe some winter weather down in the southeast part of the country later this week. Again, it's not the area we cover, but it is something to maybe mention for you guys. Here's the rain outlook or precipitation outlook. Again, when we're in northwest flow in the winter, it's not good for moisture. So again, no real changes in the forecast in that regard. Trying to get in here. Matthew, we're hopeful that it won't, but we're gonna need to get some really lucky cutoff low to try and come in and bring us some good moisture early on in the spring season if we want to get maybe the more active weather monsoon season started early. We'll get into that here in just a second, actually. Here's your 7-day tracker. Move the mouse a little bit, but you can see we've got elevated fire conditions on Wednesday and Thursday. A lot of sunshine in the forecast. Couple of fronts there this week. Again, kind of chilly on Friday, not far off from our normal high, and then we'll be in the 50s, kind of seasonal for the weekend as that west southwest wind comes back into play. The mornings will be cold, so jacket necessary early on, and then we'll end up seeing a rebound in your highs again on Monday. So kind of a roller coaster ride, but with that northwest flow pattern, these backdoor fronts, they don't hang around very long. So you get cold one day and then you warm up really quick the next. Let's go ahead and break down some of this other stuff. We're looking at the ensemble. This is a Canadian ensemble for the West Pacific Oscillation. I wanted to show the PNA first, the Pacific North American Oscillation. When it is very positive, it's not a huge standard deviation, but it's 1 to 2 standard deviations away from what's considered null space. This is when you get those big troughs out in the eastern half of the country, when we have this line out here way in the positive. So the Canadian, the GFS, and the European, at least in the short term, you can see, do have us all inside that positive territory for the North Pacific or Pacific North American Oscillation. So definitely expecting us to have kind of a dry pattern and some northwest flow here over the next 6 to 10 days. Notice again, it does dip negative as we get into the end of the month. This is like around the 22nd through the 25th. This is that window that might need to be at least monitored. I'm not going to guarantee anything. The GFS not as sold on it, but you can see a majority of the ensembles do dip below null space. Only about 50% of them get us past the standard deviation of 1 for the oscillation, though, and about a quarter of them go to -2 to -5. But you can see certainly a lean towards negative for the PNA oscillation within the ensembles, and it again holds true for the Canadian as well. In fact, all of the ensembles there around the 23rd, so basically the end of next week, have us in a negative oscillation. So that would mean troughing out in the west coast or in the desert southwest, and then ridging over along the east coast. If that were to come to fruition, maybe that's when we have the chance to talk about another closed upper level low coming through the general vicinity of the high plains. It certainly doesn't guarantee us rain or snow. Obviously, last week, how that played out, could be something similar to that. Maybe a portion of the panhandles cashing in on some moisture. Some of us definitely won't, or at least that's kind of the expectations for right now. I do want to show you the West Pacific Oscillation as well. Again, so here's what we need to know about this. So you've got your positive anomalies for the oscillation on the left-hand side. So positive anomaly would mean really warm temperatures over in the Great Lakes area, and you can see that that has a better impact for moisture along the central plains as well. Really from basically along the Front Range all the way across a good chunk of the interior continent, in the interior portion of the country. We are in a negative phase and probably will stay in a negative phase for quite some time. Negative phase has a very direct correlation with that La Nina-like pattern that we've been stuck in for most of the winter, where you get these Alberta clippers coming out of the Canadian provinces, swinging down through the Great Lakes and through New England. And so again, that keeps all that cold air bottled up here. Sometimes you can get some of that to creep into the panhandles. And again, that's why we sometimes get some of those more Arctic outbreaks, or at least the significant ones in La Nina seasons, just because we can get some of that stuff to race right down the plains. But usually the better lift for dynamics and for precipitation are further to the east of that. You can see again, just with the storm system track, that's going to impact those areas of higher precipitation anomalies there in the Canadian provinces, and then some of that kind of near normal, but generally speaking, the New England area gets to cash in on a little bit more of that moisture than we do. Obviously, a very direct negative correlation along and east of us, kind of basically all the way up the I-35 corridor is where you see the more direct link to that negative West Pacific oscillation. Another thing I do want to show you, and this is something that take with a grain of salt. We're going to blow this up so it's a little bit bigger for you guys to see. But you're looking at trade winds in the equatorial Pacific. So you've got easterlies here down in the equatorial Pacific. This is very much in association with the La Nina conditions that we are currently experiencing. In fact, let's actually show you the 90-day animation. You can see again all of that cold water there right off of the South America. You can see it really flared up bad there in early January. Show you the date too. So it's October, late October, moving into November. La Nina conditions obviously quite present. But as we get towards the beginning of January, notice again, flares up really dark blue, but we start to see a little bit of these warmer temperatures here in the last scan. This was yesterday's temperature anomalies. You can see some pockets of some warmer waters showing up in here, and a lot of that having to do with this. This is our, let me stop this real quick. So these are our anomalies for our trade winds. And if I can sneak out of here without touching anything, so you can see that we've got some blue here. You still have an easterly trade wind, but it's relatively weak, and you can see again it's much weaker than what's considered, pretty normal, at least in that general area. And again, we've got some more of the upwelling happening out here. And then if we go over to our 200 hectopascal or 200 millibar anomalies, you can see that we've got some westerlies here, and they're actually a little bit stronger than normal. But with the weaker conditions there, at least at the surface, that is something to maybe take note of and to keep an eye on, that the La Nina conditions might be weakening here, and we may start to transition closer to basically normal or ENSO neutral conditions. So this was the December outlook. You can see that the higher probabilities, let's go ahead and see if I can blow this up a little bit more. So you got the official NOAA forecast over here on the left, and then you've got the model-based probabilities over here. You can see again that very much in La Nina conditions, November, December, January. Again, these are in 3-month intervals. So we're in the January, February, March. You can see again, they've got us in a 30% probability to be in La Nina conditions. And we have started to see, at least here in the last several days, some warmer water starting to show up in that ENSO 1+2 region, which is right off of the equatorial Pacific, right off the South American coast. And we are starting to see a little bit of some warmer water showing up there along the equator, even further out into the Central Pacific as well. So we may start to transition back towards kind of neutral conditions as we get into February and March. February, March, April, you can see there's about an 80% chance as we get into that time frame, that 90-day span, that will be solidly in ENSO neutral conditions. And then March, April, May, definitely kind of stuck in that ENSO neutral conditions as we get into our spring months and our severe weather season. As we get into the end, so May, June, July, you can see, again, that's when we really start severe weather season and our monsoon season. We've got about a 60% chance to be in ENSO neutral conditions, but you can see El Nino conditions, at least the probabilities starting to creep a little bit higher. Right now, the current favored condition is going to be ENSO neutral as we roll through the summer. So we wouldn't necessarily be favored for above average precipitation, but we wouldn't be favored for below average precipitation. And El Nino and La Nina have a much more direct correlation to our winter months than they do in the summer. Now we can, when we are in El Nino conditions, we're trending in that direction, especially if we are very warm right here in the equatorial Pacific. That usually is a good sign for us to have some more active weather within that general vicinity. So that is maybe something to keep an eye on as we head into the spring months. If we continue to warm up there, then we may start to really favor some more active weather getting into the spring months, not necessarily into winter. We were kind of thinking it's going to be a warmer and dry winter to begin with, but we just, again, taking our time to kind of fade out of La Nina conditions at this point. This is the Madden-Julian oscillation. Right now, this is just the ensemble, just kind of keeping us in those that phase 6, phase 7. We've seen this happen a lot. Usually phases 5 through 7 do not favor good moisture here in the high plains. We did kind of creep into phase 8, almost into phase 1, but you can see it came back here into null space. But the forecast, it's actually back in weak phase 6 conditions, is for it to kind of trend much stronger in this area and then start to oscillate back to 7. And we'll see what happens if it transitions to phase 8. And again, here's kind of an outlook from the empirical wave propagation. So you can see again, we've got a lot of upwelling, a lot of storminess there in the Indo-Pacific. And again, these MJO oscillations, these waves tend to propagate. They take about 90 days usually to propagate and make it a full cycle when they do that. But you can see starting to push maybe a little bit better moisture, probably like first 2 weeks of February. At least this is the empirical wave propagation. So maybe if we have some more active weather to talk about in at least quote unquote the nearer term, I wouldn't call it near term, but maybe right on the end of our mid-range guidance, the end of January, moving into the first couple weeks of February, if we're going to have any active weather, that maybe when it comes to fruition. So something to keep in mind. That's all we've got for you guys. Looks like DB's in here as well. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Don't forget to tune in tonight at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock, and we will see you tomorrow.
Jury selection began Monday in the murder trial of an Amarillo man. Isaac Botello was indicted in May of 2024 on one count of murder. On January 24th of that year, investigators say Botello and Jorge Cabello were involved in a fight at the Grand Street Walmart. About an hour later, police responded to a shooting in the 800 block of Rhode Island, where they found 23-year-old Everardo Leal dead at the scene. A short time later, officers responded to a second shooting in the 800 block of North Apache. A second man with multiple gunshot wounds was taken to the hospital in critical condition. That victim survived. An Amarillo man has reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors for bringing a rifle to an elementary school campus last year. Kai O'Hare was arrested by school resource officers at Heritage Hills Elementary on September 8th. Officers found a box of .22 caliber ammunition and an unregistered rifle in his vehicle